Odd sightings of Pooch prompts rescuers to intervene immediately. But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to Happy World, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories. A dog getting abandoned might literally be one of the saddest things you could hear of. Much like humans, dogs are quite the sensitive kind, and so how they're treated or what they experience greatly shapes their outlook on life and how they behave. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see the look on the canine's face when they realize they're unwanted. The feeling of rejection and failure is something we can all relate to. It's a feeling that we all try to refrain from happening to us. To even think about someone being cruel enough to leave their pets behind is something truly tragic. This dog luckily had one of the most epic rescue stories after being left to die. Before we get to the main story, here's a little reminder of why you need a dog in your life. You'd be fairly surprised to see just how helpful your favorite canine actually is. This is essentially one of the main reasons why you should definitely adopt a dog from your local animal shelter. Many studies and researchers have proven that there's a considerable difference in pace of recovery from illness when dog owners and non-dog owners are compared. Dog owners recover quicker than non-dog owners, which clearly suggests that they have a huge impact. Heart attack survivors have been proven to be twice as lucky to get a full recovery if they own dogs. This is a more obvious reason than the rest, of course. A dog always needs his daily exercise. You need to take your dog for a walk or jog every morning or evening. And quite frankly, even you need your everyday exercise. So why not get a dog and have fun while exercising together? Dog owners are the caretakers of the dog, so they have a certain duty to make sure the dog gets everything it might need. So eventually, dog owners tend to become a bit more active than they normally would be. There are several reports of a dog that's been wandering around the train tracks. The dog was always seen alone, so it became clear that it was a stray dog. Why was it hanging around there of all places? The train tracks are not safe for anyone to be around, let alone a dog. So what was the dog's story? When you think about it, what could be so wrong with a dog that makes anyone decide that they're no longer worth keeping? Surely there must have been a good reason, right? Bobi here is a tiny white lab shepherd mix. This little pup had been roaming the streets of Romania, walking alone in the cold, heartless weather. He had no company and was indeed very scared. He'd been alone for so long that his behavior showed just how uncomfortable he was to be around anyone. So what was in store for this little white pup? He was surely helpless because he was so small and so lost, all alone with no one for company. He'd been walking aimlessly until he reached a railroad station. There, someone finally took notice of him. Rescuers were slowly becoming a little worried as to why Bobi would spend time at the train tracks. He could have been hit by a train. To make matters worse, since this little guy did not have anyone to care for him, who would even be there if tragedy struck? So to see a dog hanging around on the train track was clearly a bizarre sight. It alarmed many people who were staying close to the railroad. Since they did not want to risk any chance of Bobi being saved from the train tracks, they needed to come up with a plan B. They could not startle the dog, so soon enough, after brainstorming, rescuers came up with a new plan that might work. They could not be too sure if their attempt would work, judging by the way the dog was so timid and shy. So what exactly was their plan when they decided to try and rescue the poor homeless dog from his terrible living condition? The rescuers, after contemplating for a while, decided that waiting and following the dog around would be a good idea. Then they worked hard to get Bobi to a safer area. Finally, they could get Bobi to come off the tracks and into an open space. This was just the beginning, as the dog was certainly not ready to trust them that easy. Things surely did not go as planned. Like we'd already mentioned earlier, since Bobi had been alone without anyone to go to for such a long time, he'd gone very timid. They had to be patient and very hardworking to make sure he understood that they meant him no harm. It was quite a struggle, as every time anyone tried to get near him, the dog would get scared off. After he saw they tried so hard, he finally saw that they wanted to help. So would he finally try and abide by their requests, or would he plan on running away? The rescue team trying hard to think of solutions to get the little pup to comply. They came up with a brilliant plan which sounded good in theory. So will it work? The whole team had been trying to warm up to Bobi for a while now, until they knew he understood that they were there to help. Eventually, Bobi started to also show that he was not scared anymore, that they were just trying to save him. They clearly made use of a treat to show that they wanted to help him. He could finally be cornered. It was such a sad revelation to find out that Bobi was not at all in good shape. There were so many things that the team discovered about the dog that made them feel a more intense pity when they learned about his upbringing. In fact, it was quite obvious that he'd been through a lot of torture and struggle. Bobi was actually limping, and there was a very prominent scar that appeared just next to his left eye. They took him to the vet as soon as they could so that Bobi could get whatever medical help he needed. This was not all. There was a lot more going on with Bobi, the homeless dog. There was yet another discovery that they made which utterly shocked the rescuers. They took Bobi to the doctors, who ended up informing them with yet another surprising insight. What was it, you ask? They found out that there was actually a microchip that had been implanted, which again meant that his owner could be located. The rescuers became elated, as they were confident that the owner would be happy to take this poor dog back. For most pet owners, receiving the call that rescuers had finally located your lost dog would certainly delight you, right? So when they discovered that the dog had a microchip planted in him, Bobi's rescuers could not wait to inform the previous owner that they'd found their missing dog. However, they were faced with the most unexpected response. The owner was not looking to take Bobi back at all. In fact, the owner wanted the shelter to take care of the pup, which shocked them so much. This was such a big blow to their expectations, leaving them speechless. Are you also wondering what exactly happened to the poor pup? What made him go astray, strolling around, living many days in the dangerous areas of the train tracks? What made Bobi a street dog? The previous owner of Bobi was not hiding anything and filled the rescuers on the details of how the dog ended up like this. The story of Bobi was almost unbelievable, like he was straight out of a movie where a dog's experienced quite a life. If only Bobi could talk and voice out all the things he'd encountered. They came to know that Bobi was actually a 9-year-old dog. They also discovered that Bobi had actually made a choice to run away from his own home. He'd definitely run very far from where he used to live, because his rescuers found him about 10 miles away from where his owner lived. From what they heard, Bobi was quite adamant on leaving. But is this not a normal thing for most dogs? They always want to explore their surroundings, but ultimately come back home after marking their territories. Even though they found out a lot of answers about the mysterious dog, there were a lot more they wanted answers to. However, they still were not able to verify the main reason why Bobi was triggered to run away in the first place. His previous owner did not give any reason as to why the poor dog would want to leave them and the reason they did not want him back. What could this sweet, innocent dog do to have deserved such a cold-hearted rejection from this person? We'll never know why he left home and why he wasn't wanted anymore, but we don't want to judge anyone. We're just thankful that we were able to save him. The organization that rescued him wrote about the lovable dog. Although Bobi is well taken care of, his health is slowly deteriorating, and it must be due to the cold weather and starving days he endured. After all, he'd been fending for himself for so many months now with no proper nutrition or care. The organization further wrote on their social media, Bobi is 9 years old, medium-sized, approximately 18 kilograms, which is 39 pounds, fully vaccinated, microchipped, neutered. His vision is completely lost in the left eye. An old scar located near the eye indicates that he'd been injured there, possibly hit, so that's how he lost sight in that eye. They really wanted to get someone who would show love and appreciation for the poor pup who'd been a victim of neglect for so long. It was sad of Bobi to have lost his sight in his left eye, but this dog is truly an inspiration. He refuses to be beaten down and obstructed by living his best life by his blindness. Instead, he focuses on what he still can do, as his right eye still works perfectly fine. Not a lot of pets, not to mention humans, can do that. He's not let this hindrance affect him in any negative manner. Bobi truly is one remarkable survivor who we can all take notes from when it comes to resilience and struggle. Right now, this lovely dog is looking for a home to stay in forever, and the organization is working very hard to find a loving family that would take poor Bobi in. Bobi is an old dog in his golden years, and he needs a caring adoptive family to offer him a home, a forever home this time, where he can spend his remaining years happy and loved, the organization said. As expected, there were loads of interested adopters who wanted to take Bobi into their custody. There were so many who wanted to adopt and give Bobi a better life. Even though the organization's location is all the way in Romania, they were clear that they could ship Bobi all around Europe, the USA, or Canada. Finally, the right person came up. Update: Bobi was adopted. After a journey of over 4,600 miles from Romania to the US, our brave Bobi arrived at his new home in Delaware, United States, and is now finally living the happy life he so much deserves. The organization excitedly expressed. Bobi, after living through a hard experience, has finally become an adopted pet. His days of roaming about the streets of Romania with no shelter or food to eat are finally over. He finally found someone to love him and keep him safe no matter what happens. He does not need to worry about feeling alone or scared anymore. Bobi has now found a good home. The staff at Howl of a Dog have indeed done a wonderful job in the way they handled Bobi's case. You can say that Bobi's life is changing right before everyone's eyes, and it's absolutely amazing. This dog's life is changing for the better, and hence everyone that knows about him is smiling from ear to ear. There are some of the things that make life worth living. Hearing about Bobi must have probably made you a little more conscious about how you treat your dog or dogs in general. That is, if you have a heart. Here are a few quick tips and tricks to make your dog happier and become a better owner. Owners can be quite different from each other. There are some dog owners who buy a ton of toys for their pets, while some buy them just one or two. Much like us humans, even dogs can get bored with playing with the same thing over and over again. They too get excited about new toys and stuff. You don't have to buy them an endless supply of toys, but you should remember to switch them every so often so that they feel like they play with a new toy each time. Walks are not just for exercise. It's actually needed for your dog's minds. Dogs also have a need to explore and see new things and not get cooped up in a house for their entire lifetime. Many owners do not make time to walk their dogs, and this is a very bad practice. For your dog to be in its best physical and mental health, you need to take them out every day. Burning up their energy and meeting new folks is proven to be healthy for their overall well-being. What's bad about spending some Q&A time with your furry friends? If you train your pup to be obedient, it will benefit the both of you. If you feel unequipped to handle this by yourself, you can always make use of group classes or even hire a trained professional to take care of your dog for you. Once you get to teach your dog basic manners and etiquette, you'll find how helpful it is. Studies have shown that trained dogs know that they make their owners happy, so in turn, this makes them happy as well. You should never stop teaching your dogs new tricks. Even though your personal dog may not be the most obedient or the most clever dog, teaching new tricks will always be for the better. Teaching them tricks is good for their mental health and stimulation. They also feel fulfilled and appreciated too. It's often said that an old dog can learn new tricks, so you should never settle for anything less. If you limit your dogs regarding their meals, it might lead them to not eating enough for their well-being. Even though this is true to some extent, experts have stated that keeping an eye on your dog's consumption could help you get them to maintain a healthy weight. If you train your dog to eat the right amount, it would result in them feeling better and healthier. There are so many medical issues that originate from your dog's excess weight, so even this alone should convince you. You need to invest some quality time with your pups and play around with them if you want to keep them healthy. The thing about dogs is that they love to play and experience new things, so even if your dog may be older or wearier than most, getting it a new toy would certainly cheer it up. In case your pooch is the type that's not fascinated by toys, give them something they do like, maybe treasure hunting where food and treats are the rewards. Dogs trainers have seen a common problem when dealing with clients and inconsistency. Dogs take after humans in the way that they're too constantly need to be guarded and bounded to not do the wrong thing. Dogs who receive endless punishment are always unhappy and need some kind of affirmation sometime or the other. Their owner's frustration and stress can be sensed by dogs, so it does not turn out for the better. Your dog loves to feel fresh and clean. You don't necessarily have to give baths to your dog every day, but a regular routine is something that they need. There are a lot of benefits that this can have on your dogs, as it rids them of the allergens that may be present in their coats of fur. They'll also smell excellent, and who doesn't like a good smelling pup? No fleas alone should be enough reason to give your dogs a regular bath. Praising your dog will definitely help strengthen the relationship you have with your pup. If you constantly give them verbal and physical praise, your dog will certainly feel better and happier. You can do this by petting them and giving them positive comments in a perky manner. You don't want to use this tactic only while training. Just do this every day to make your pet feel loved, wanted, and safe. You should also note that switching up treats just like you do toys will benefit your dog. Dogs usually have a variety of favorite treats too. You can always keep them on their toes and give them a treat that differs each time. It's exciting for a dog to receive a treat that's unexpected and new. They'll always get to enjoy a spectrum of their favorite flavors and textures. It's fairly common to try and treat pets like kids because they're often seen as the ones needing guidance and help. But we must remember that they're grown-up adults who actually need a purpose and something to do each day. You can give your dog some responsibility by making it carry its treats when trekking or make them fetch things like keys and shoes. This is actually quite beneficial for their mental stimulation. It turns out humans and dogs are not all that different after all. Even they love to get pampered and treated nicely. Hence, a nice spa day, free of stress and everyday woes, can prove to be good for you and your faithful companion. You don't necessarily have to take your pet to a luxurious spa. Why not create your own spa in the comfort of your own house? We often forget that dogs have an incredible sense of hearing and smell. They're actually excellent guards that can keep an eye on the house. We cannot spend every waking second with them, so they need to learn to be responsible too. If you open your windows, you'll help stimulate your dog's sensitivity and therefore help it become more efficient as a watchman. Make sure your window is not one that can make them run away from home though.